In this presentation, we will generate, analyze, print, and export to Excel a sales by customer report within QuickBooks Online. Here we are in our free test drive file for Craig's Design and Landscaping Services. We're going to go on down to the reports on the left side. We're looking for the sales by customer report. The sales by customer report is going to be a supplemental type of report now. So remember that all the reports, pretty much every report other than the balance sheet and the profit and loss statement of cash flows as well, are going to be supplemental type of reports that are going to be supporting some number or some group of numbers within the major financial statements, those being the balance sheet, the profit and loss. When you think about the sales by customer report, you're talking about sales, which is revenue or income. So you're talking about something that would be on the profit and loss. And when you think about customers, then you're talking about the cycle, the sales cycle, which could include accounts receivable as well, because accounts receivable is included in the sales cycle, so that's people owing us money. So let's scroll down and see what we have here. We got the business overview. That's going to be our major financial statement reports, balance sheet, and the profit and loss, as well as the statement of cash flows. Who owes you money? That's going to be dealing with the cycle for the sales cycle. That's going to be dealing, however, mainly with the accounts receivable side of things, the balance sheet side of things. We're having the sales by customer, which is kind of like the income statement side of things. So if we then see the sales, we have then sales by customers reports down below it. So this is still dealing with the cycle for the accounts receivable cycle, or you can think of the sales cycle. And we're looking for the sales by customer report in here. So let's scroll back down, and here we've got the sales by customer reports. Now you're going to have a detailed report and a summary report. So the detailed report is going to give us obviously more detail within each customer. The summary report is going to summarize that information. Let's start off with the detailed report. So I'm going to open up the sales by customer detail. Going to scroll back up top. We're going to change the dates from 01/01/19 to 12/31/19. Then we're going to run that report. Then I'm going to duplicate the report up top. Once again, right-clicking on the tab up top. Then we're going to duplicate that tab. Then I'm going to close the hamburger on the left. So we'll close the hamburger. And then I'm going to make, it's not closing. Then we're going to make this a little bit larger, just a little bit larger. It's already maxing out here. We'll be at the 110. So now we have the sales by customer report. This is going to be a report that's going to be giving more information about basically the profit and loss report. So note that it has a timing. Therefore, it needs a beginning and an end. We're not talking about a point in time as we would be if it was supporting possibly a balance sheet report. So because we need activity that's happening over some time period. And you'll see what we have here. We've got our customers are going to be to the left. And then we're going to see the detail about those customers. The detail which we'll typically see about customers are going to be things such as invoices and the credit memos. Let's go ahead and open our profit and loss report so we can do a comparison with it. I'm going to go back to the Craig's Design and Landscaping. We're going to go to the reports. We'll open up the profit and loss report. Let's open up the profit and loss report. Let's change the dates up top once again from 01/01/19 to 12/31/19. Then we'll go ahead and run that report. Let's go ahead and duplicate that report as we did before. We're going to right-click on the report up top, duplicate that report. It then should show up on the left, and we could do some comparisons. Now, what number is this sales by customer report supporting on the profit and loss report, the major financial statement report? It's going to be income. It's going to be supporting income in some way, shape, or form. I'm going to close the hamburger to the left and scroll. So income is going to be our first item. If I close the income, then we can see total income. Total income's at $10,277. If we go then to the sales by customer for the same time period, January through December, you would think that the bottom line would be the same number. So 10,280.05. Over here we have 10,200. So we see it's off by a little bit, by $80. Now there are some reasons why that could happen, and we'll talk. And for example, you could have adjusting entries or a journal entry that could throw it off. We'll actually see that when we go through our practice problem and see how these reports can be off. But you can see what we're doing here. We have the profit and loss report. That's going to give us the income. Then when we need more detail about it, we can run these sales reports by different items. In this case, by customer. We can also run the report by what we sold. So note, when you're thinking about the income statement and designing the income statement, you typically don't want a whole lot of income accounts because you typically only do one type of thing, right? And what could go through your mind when you start to make the chart of accounts is like, well, I would like to know income from my major customers, who's paying me the money. And you may be then tempted to make an income account label like income from major customer or something like that, in which case you're trying to put the detail of the customers on the primary report, the profit and loss statement. So that's a logical thing to kind of do, but you want to refrain from doing that because you don't need to. What you want on the primary profit and loss is the minimal amount of counts. You want the profit and loss to give you more of the bottom line kind of number, income as a total. And then you want to have these supplemental reports over here to give you that more detail. So then you can run your report over here and you can see by customer the more detail of who owes you money. So that's really the way you want to optimize the functionality of QuickBooks. If you were to go to the profit and loss report and have a whole bunch of income statement accounts that basically are broken out by your major customers, then your chart of accounts is going to get unmanageable. It's going to get too big and it's going to be a problem. So typically, if you're thinking about the income, most businesses only have like one, you do it by type of thing you do. So most businesses will only have a few income statement accounts because that's the point of the business. You're focusing in on what you do, which is it's only a few things, and then you pay for everything else, right? And that's your specialization. So therefore, you would think you'd have minimal income accounts and then break out the more detailed reports, such as the sales by the customer. Now, if you look at the sales by customer report, this is what we would expect to see in the sales by customer information. We would expect to see invoices and possibly credit memos and sales receipts to the customers, right? Because those are the types of forms that drive income. So when income is reported, it's going to be reported with an invoice or with a sales receipt. So here's the sales receipt, and it'll give you those types over here. If you were to click on an invoice or sales receipt, then of course it would open up that particular invoice or sales receipt. So you can see with the detailed report, we get both the information. We get the detailed information. Please try later. That's interesting. But it took us basically to the invoice, but there's a default. Something happened to it in the practice file. But same kind of zoom feature. It should take us to the invoice. And that's going to give us the detail on the invoice. So you can see all the types of information we have are invoices. So if you have a question about a particular invoice or a particular client and the sales that are made to it, you could use this report to go in there and see the detail about that particular client with the detailed information for the invoice. Now let's go back and let's open up the summary information. I'm going to go back to Craig's Design and Landscaping. We're going to go to the reports down below, and we're going to scroll on down, back down to who owes you, to the sales by customer. And we want to be picking up the summary report for the sales by customer summary now. So we'll scroll down to the sales by customer summary report, open that one back up. Then let's go ahead and copy it. We're going to right click on the tab up top and duplicate it. And then we'll close the hamburger here and change the dates up top from 01/01/19 to 12/31/19 and run that report. So there we have it. And now this is going to give us basically, obviously, a shorter view of this report. This report, if I go to the detailed report, and I was basically to unexpand everything, bring this down to its to the totals without all the detail within it, that in essence is what you would have in the summary report. So now we got basically the sales that were made to the customers, and we can look at who our favorite or best customers are in this type of format, which is obviously some useful information to have. We're going to go ahead and do some of our typical formatting and then export the summary report to our Excel worksheet. Let's go back up top. We're going to customize this report then. We're going to say we want to remove the pennies. We're going to make the negative numbers bracketed and then make them red as well. We're going to go down to the header and footer, and we will remove the date prepared, the time prepared, the report basis. Run that report. Then we're going to go ahead and do our same kind of saving of this information. We could email this report to somebody, but we're going to have multiple reports. That would take multiple emails. We could then print it or save it as a PDF file and then attach the multiple emails to one PDF file to one email, or we can make a zipped PDF file. We can also use the Qt PDF printer to be printing reports to a PDF, which we are going to do here to practice using the Qt PDF printer. So it's going to the Qt PDF printer, which will generate a PDF file. Good tool to have. We're going to go ahead and print it. Then it's going to ask us where do we want to put it. And then we're going to tell it that we want it in the 4 other reports. I'm going to name this report. I'm going to call it a sales by customer. We'll just keep it at that. And then I'll save that and close this. I'm also going to export it to Excel. And we're going to go to the export to Excel and open up our trusty Excel worksheet. And then I'm going to check it, and then I'm going to check that it's on one page by clicking the layout view down below and back to the normal view so it fits on a page. Then I'm going to open up our other reports that we did in the prior section. I'd like to get all these reports on one Excel file and then use that to print them out. So here's the Excel report we did last time. I'm going to add a sheet to it. So we're going to add another sheet. There it is. I'm going to go back to the prior report then. Let's go back to the prior report. I'm going to copy the whole thing by either selecting this triangle up top or saying Control A on the keyboard, right-clicking or using Control C to copy. And then we're going to go back over to our other sheet. Remember, you have to be on A1. If you're anywhere else, if I try to paste it here, for example, it's going to say, hey, I can't do that because I have the whole sheet that I need to paste, and you're, negating these 2 row and a column. So I'm going to go back up top, and I'm going to say I'm going to paste the entire thing from A1 on down. I'm going to change the tab name by double-clicking on the tab name and then changing that tab name to Sales by Customer. And there we have it. Now let's go ahead and print this thing out as we have it so far. And that's going to include these 2 reports at this point. We're going to go to the File tab. We're going to use the printer to do so. We're going to print it to the Qt PDF printer so it'll actually save as a PDF. But before we do, we want the entire report. I want the entire report or the entire workbook, which actually includes 2 reports or 2 pages at this time, and 2 pages, 2 reports that are on 2 pages. Then we're going to go ahead and print that report. It's going to ask us where do you want to put it. And we're going to say that I want to put it right where it's at. For other reports, it's going to overwrite the other reports we have at this time. So that should work. I'm going to say save. Do you want to overwrite the reports? Yes, I do. So we're going to say yes, please. And then I'm going to close this back out and save it. And then close this out and not copy the cells that were copied, or not save the cells that were copied. Then this is what it looks like so far. Now we have the 2 reports, we have the Excel worksheet, and our 1 PDF. So if I was to send this to somebody, we could send these 2 reports down here as 2 separate attachments, not too bad. We could also put them in one folder. I can make a new folder called Other Reports. We can put those 2 items in it, because these are the 2 other reports that we have so far. So I can take those 2 and we can put them in other reports. And then we could zip that. We can right click and compress that file and then send it with 1 attachment rather than 2, which 2 attachments isn't too bad. That might be just as good, but we'll have more reports later. And then I can close that. We can also send the Excel worksheet if we choose to, or we can send this PDF file, which should have both of the reports on it. And again, that's probably the most impressive way to send it. And it only has 1 attachment, easiest way to kind of provide that information to somebody.